All right, we are back with another Stable Spotlight. We are here with Itai from Dynamic. Thanks for joining us. How you doing today?
Thanks for having you. Now, living the dream. Can't complain.
Life is good. We're here at ETHDenver. Let's just talk about Dynamic for a little bit. We, one, are very excited about the wallet as a service space and really just the everything that you're building. It's so essential in my mind and foundational to everything related to stablecoins. It touches wallets, it touches that infrastructure. So for people who may not be familiar with Dynamic or your work there, what's a high level of how you describe it to maybe someone who's just getting started with this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at the very basic level, the way to think about wallets and crypto is the following. If you think about crypto as the electric grid, wallets are really outlets in your wall to connect to that. Right? In order to connect to the electric grid, you need an outlet. I'm in the business of selling outlets in your house. Really what we do, we kind of think that if you fast forward 5 years, if you open your phone and look at every app on your phone, it's going to have a crypto component to it, right? It's going to let you move money around. You might not know about it. You might not care about it. It's going to be there. And for it to be there, you need a wallet in that app. That's where we come in. We essentially provide wallets as a service, which means it's a developer tool set. It's an SDK where you set up, you set it up within your app, and you can generate wallets for your users. Now, those can be very front and center. So if you go to a Magic Eden today or a Doodles or a Lamborghini NFT experience, and you click log in, you can log in and it's very in-your-face crypto. That uses Dynamic. Or it can be very much behind the scenes. So if you open a trading app like Bags or any one of those, and you just log in like you would with an email in Google, or you want to transfer money, and you don't need to know it's crypto, we power those too. So very much kind of rails in the background that help you power those crypto experiences.
It's awesome. You guys have been, I mean, even the illustration of the outlets that you use, I'm flashing back to like years ago. I was working out and I was listening to a podcast actually that you were on, and you've used that for a long time, and I'm thinking just about how long Dynamic has been in the space innovating. There have been so many seasons of crypto in the last few years. How have you guys, as you've gone through the last 3, 4, 5 years of building this product, how have you continued to evolve the way that you resonate, the way that you actually bring this to market? I feel like because the wallet, like the electrical outlet, there's so many different ways that can take shape. Right. How have you stayed nimble in that constantly shifting landscape?
So I think there are a few elements to this, right? The first one is there's the ups and downs in crypto. You got to kind of escape those, right? So we very much think about crypto as, okay, do we fundamentally believe that the way we move things around over the next 5-10 years is going to be crypto rails, right? If we fundamentally believe that, then we essentially have to believe that you need wallets for that. And so the use cases, to your point, for wallets will change, but that kind of unit of solution of function would stay constant. And so what we've seen over the last couple of years is during bear and bull cycles is essentially the spectrum of how people use wallets, right? On the one end of the spectrum, it's a very crypto native way, right? Yep. I have a Phantom, I have a MetaMask, I have a Coinbase, I have 5 wallets, I connect them all together.
That's how I originally thought of Dynamic. I think when I first got to know you guys, it was in that context.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly right. Which is like very crypto in your face. And you can see this on, if you go to Barachain.com or Say or Eclipse or Starkware, it's like a very crypto native experience. Yep. Versus the other side of the spectrum is never talk to me about crypto, log in with email, log in with Google.
Don't even know this is a wallet.
Exactly. Don't know it's a wallet. Don't really care. Just want to take an action, and that action happens to use crypto, right? And so over the last couple of years, we've really just been moving on that spectrum.
Yeah.
And letting folks and building more on that spectrum to let folks kind of move through seasons, right? So you see a lot of folks say, okay, let me start with just external wallets, right? That's like a Magic Eden. And then just this week, add email login, right? And move to this part of the spectrum, or the vice versa.
External wallets meaning I have an existing wallet. I'm gonna connect that.
That's exactly
versus I may not have a wallet and I want to auth using like a Google OAuth or something.
That's exactly right.
And you guys will spin up and associate a wallet
Yes.
with that identity.
Yes.
Very different technically, but you're doing both of those things.
That's exactly right. And by
Yeah.
the way, shameless plug, today or yesterday, we literally announced what we call threshold signature MPC embedded wallets.
Threshold signature
Yes,
MPC.
It's very
embedded
catchy.
wallets.
It's like a very good marketing term. No, I'm kidding. But it's essentially
We got to work on that.
You gotta work exactly. We're very good engineers, but we're not very good marketing people.
We should talk more about that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's brainstorm. Let's workshop this. But the idea is the following, which is like as you start moving more money around, right? As you start doing more sophisticated stuff, the way in which the wallet is secure has to really evolve. Right? You start having AI agents move money on your behalf, right? You start doing more sophisticated server-to-server, machine-to-machine type stuff. And so we announced kind of a new key management architecture, again, threshold signature MPC, which essentially means that you have more security and more flexibility in the ways in which a wallet is managed, right? And that has been on that spectrum that we talk about. That's been very much on the don't talk to me about crypto, right? I'm a Web2 company. I just care about kind of, a more efficient way to do things that happens to be a very secure wallet.
Yeah. You're opening so many avenues that I just want to like spend 10 minutes each going down, but I'm trying to hold back because agents, when it comes to transactions and AI agents with respect to custody, money transmission, that's such an exciting space right now. How do you when you think about the role of wallets and the role of custody and is agentic payments, is that even the way you would say agentic payments?
Yeah.
Is that how is that happening right now, or are we emerging in that? I feel like that's something that on our Stable Minded podcast, that's like something that a lot of founders are starting to talk about, but I don't currently see a lot of use cases happening. It sounds like you're starting to build dynamic strategically, knowing that's coming. Can you just speak more to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first to your question, I think we are seeing a lot of experimentation in that space, right? So a lot of like small startups thinking about that, and they're thinking about one of two ways. Either a human in the loop, where I am a human, I have a wallet, and I delegate some sort of permissions to an agent to do something on my behalf. So buy book travel, buy Taylor Swift tickets or whatever, right? But on the other hand of that, you're also seeing no human in the loop, which is just, hey, can I spin up 10,000 agents and let them run amok with some sort of guardrails and trade on my behalf?
So there's even a new spectrum of agentic control.
That's exactly right. But by the way, that is very on the out there side of this, and you're seeing a bunch of Web2 companies experiment with crypto and stablecoins, and they're on step one. They're just on the, I just had this conversation a couple of days ago with a big Web2 company, and they're like, look, I just want to transfer money internationally in a very efficient way. And I heard stablecoins is the way to do that, but I really don't want anyone to care or know. I just want it to start with fiat, end with fiat, and
this is a money transmission company like PSP, or what's the use case?
So PSP, global credit cards, that type of stuff. Contractor payments internationally, treasury management, rebalancing, right? So I collected money in Bulgaria, but my treasury is in the UK. Can I rebalance it to the UK? So a lot of like these international money movement use cases that happen to be significantly more efficient with stablecoins.
Can we double click on that use case, because that's a great one? Treasury management, you give wallets to a single entity, multinational entity. They can use wallets to organize their treasury globally.
Correct.
Currently in this more manual human focused process, even if it were built on chain with dynamic, there are models where humans would be required to rebalance that treasury. That's very, very common, I'm sure, today. The V2 of that, or V5 of that, whatever we want to say, is, hey, I could actually, using dynamic as an infrastructure, have an AI agent trained to say, hey, this is my entity, it's based in Singapore, and at the end of every month or quarter or whatever, we need to rebalance this treasury. And instead of my CFO or treasury team doing that, you're saying, an AI system could
That's
do that
exactly right. So
periodically.
imagine it as that is exactly
This is
right.
insane. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
Right? Yeah. It's,
I mean, I'm like equally excited, but equally like, how is that going? I mean, if that actually starts happening, that's going to foundationally change everything.
It's going to be awesome. And to your point, like, and one important point is let's say you go to ChatGPT and you write a question and it gets the answer wrong and it hallucinates. That's fine because what will happen? Nothing will happen. Okay, so you learn a different fact.
The downside risk is low.
Exactly. But if it hallucinates moving money in the wrong way,
not good.
That's really bad.
Not good.
Right? And so a lot of it has to do with security, but also policies, right? And essentially thinking in that use case of, okay, let me have the agent rebalance, but let's give that agent a share. Let's have it only be able to follow specific rules and set guardrails of, okay, you can only rebalance into my own account, right? You can't start moving money globally.
Can't externally transfer funds.
Exactly.
All
it can only rebalance up to this amount. It can. So you get into a lot of conversation around how do you build rule engines and policy engines in order to kind of create those guardrails that are really important for money.
Yeah. I feel like we have to wrap up soon. I'm so upset.
No.
This is great. We're going to have you on the podcast soon just to go deeper here. When you think about maybe just a couple quick hit last questions, would you say for you strategically as a founder and someone who's building this business, is this agentic AI agent-based payments conversation, is this like a very top of mind thing or one of maybe many things that you're trying to keep? Is this like very like P0 for you, or when you think about the top few, like what else maybe is top of mind?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's P0 for a very specific reason, which is we're in the business of building very low-level tools. And what we found historically that we have zero ability to predict how they're used. Right? So if you were to describe to me a year ago what type of companies use Dynamic today, I would have told you you're like 100% off.
Tell me, give me an example. What did you think versus what you found?
We get, a lot of AI XBT uses us for their terminal, like AI terminal for like, information about crypto. We see a lot of like AI companion apps, right? These are very weird use cases that we have not considered. We see a lot of like Lamborghini doing NFTs. Was not on my 2024 wish list. We see a lot of Web 2 companies, again, starting to think about treasuries and stuff like that. That was in my original deck that was further.
What did you think would happen that didn't happen?
It's a great question. I think we have seen, I was betting on Bitcoin doing more this year than it did. I was betting on OPCat, which is like a core Bitcoin change that, coming from like an Ethereum ecosystem of, hey, you have an EIP, everyone's happy with it, you run forward, it gets deployed. That did not work out in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I was betting on a very big ecosystem of Bitcoin L2 layers that has not yet come to pass.
What do you quick aside on that? Like, what do you think about stablecoins on Bitcoin, Lightning? I mean, right now, I know the last week has been pretty depressing for Bitcoin. Like, what is your general take on Lightning, Bitcoin price action? I know we don't like to talk about that stuff a lot with Stable Studios, but I've been kind of surprised to see it move in that direction.
Yeah.
With all the momentum I'm also feeling with the industry. Have you been surprised by that?
So I think there's some really cool companies within Bitcoin doing stablecoins. So Lightspark is a good example. And I think they have a very good argument, which I honestly holds true, which is Bitcoin is a well understood currency globally, or like coin globally. It has a significantly further like defined regulatory framework, right? People agree globally that it's not like security, and that solves a bunch of problems that you don't have to face that you would face in Solana land or ETH land, right? And so the way I think about it, it's not a winner take all, right? You're gonna have different rails to do different things. And so I'm still bullish like a Lightspark.
Yeah.
The ecosystem is not as big. I'm pretty bullish them. It's just as much, by the way. I know it's in the ETH conference, just as I'm bullish Solana.
Yeah.
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 It's sweet. Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool looking at dynamic and your role and what you're building. It is such a foundational. I love the electric outlet. Just to close us here, like the electrical outlet. Did you come up with that, or did someone like kind of advise you? That's such a beautiful.
I appreciate that. I want to say I did, but I
You
might
did.
be.
Let's just say you did. I mean,
exactly.
it's like if you're building the outlet system. Think about what that did to innovation within.
That's exactly
like it doesn't really like think about all the things that can plug into an outlet. It can be a vacuum. It can be literally anything. It doesn't matter. So you guys are in this really functional. You can't be super opinionated on what is going to be plugged in. You just. I'd imagine that's kind of a tough, kind of a nuanced place to be. You know what I mean?
But it's exactly right. And if you do it the wrong way, then you get different outlets in Japan than you do in the U.S.
Yeah,
than you do, right? So that analogy is
because you want to be open for that outlet without defining like, oh, we're only for vacuums or we're only for coffee machines. You know?
That's exactly right. And we're literally in the outlet selling business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. This was fun. I'm excited to dive more deep into this next time, but. This was your Stable Spotlight with Itai from Dynamic. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.